Welcome. What a boy! If we could save the tape of the conversation that we've had
That wasn't
going on
recorded,
tonight
right?
here.
We'll probably end up in the witness protection program.
Oh boy, we should.
I'll tell you, we had a great day. We had the food drive in the morning.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about that. And then
Sold out.
I met with a couple of Tom and Billy, two old high school buddies who are military guys, veterans.
That hadn't gone to jail.
Hadn't gone to jail, but they
Good.
served
Yet.
during Vietnam, not combat vets. But let me tell you, we had a conversation about benefits. And, I hear guys who've been out 45 years plus, and, I tell them, you've got to get your benefits. You earn them. And so many times that's a repeat with my mantra here on the show is, you served and you deserve the benefits. And so you should apply for them.
And the gentleman that I introduced you to at the drive-through today, I brought him over to you, and he didn't think he was a veteran.
Right? Yeah, that's.
And when did he start serving?
Yeah.
Oh, 1963. At the very beginning in the buildup of all the conflict in Vietnam.
Well, yeah, and that conversation goes back to, he said, I'm not a Vietnam vet. And I said, yes, you are. You're a Vietnam wartime veteran.
He loved it.
served during the war.
He loved what you said.
Yeah,
It was like you
during
took a
Vietnam.
load of bricks off his shoulders.
And I just said to him exactly what I always say when I start. I am not a combat veteran. I was not in country. I was on nuclear submarines. He served somewhere in the world. And I said, you know what? 8 million of us served somewhere else than Vietnam. 2 million served in country. We all did what we were told to do.
What I tell you about the
And we went where we
potatoes?
went.
If nobody peels the potatoes, nobody gets to eat. Every single job in the military is important. It's in wartime, peacetime, you were in combat, you weren't in combat, you went and you served.
But we talked about
veteran.
the real heroes are the 58,000 that are on the wall.
No
Those
question.
are our heroes.
No question.
Right.
Oh, boy.
Not that people didn't extraordinary things, and we have, the Medal of Honor winners, we have Purple Heart folks, and they did extraordinary things, and they should be recognized. But those who didn't do that, but they served their country, should not feel that their service didn't count. And I think as a generation of veterans, we were told from the public when we came home that we weren't any good, that what we did was bad. And it didn't matter whether you were in country or not. You wore a uniform, you were labeled. And so our generation of veterans made sure that these Afghan veterans and Desert Storm and all these other groups that came after us, we made sure we were on the tarmac to make sure that they were welcomed and they were told their service matters.
Well,
And that's big.
That's huge. One of the things you always say, Justin, you always say you raised your right hand.
Right.
And I always say that to people too now. And I've never said it, like, until you started saying it in here. I'm like, they're like, oh, I did nothing. And I'm like, you raised your hand for our country.
You took that oath
Yeah.
and you went and did
Yeah.
what you were told to do. If they told you were going to Vietnam, that's where you went. If they told you were going to Alaska, that's where you went. You were on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, there
for 9
wasn't
months.
anywhere would you like to go.
Yeah,
A, B, or
and
C.
No Honolulu.
Sometimes
No.
when I talk to some of my veterans, it sounds like you had a choice. Tell me what line you were in.
Yeah.
But, and it's too bad because there are so many veterans who feel that way. And that goes back into talk about you have combat PTSD, but then you have the guilt PTSD from the guys who say, I didn't go. My friends went and died. My brothers went and I didn't go. And I said, well, that's okay. It's okay that you didn't go. You weren't chosen to go, but you did what you were told to do. And so that message sometimes doesn't get back out to some of those veterans.
That whole time, it was just so awful to have lived through it, and it was right. And I watched Huntley Brinkley every single night and they led off every newscast with at least 5 minutes of Vietnam recap. A
Yeah,
daily
you remember all the
recap.
black and white film footage you'd see, all the 16 millimeter.
yeah,
Do
they'd
you know
have-
why that was done though? Because see, today the kids can get on their phone and they can FaceTime their parents and loved ones.
Yeah.
Back then, parents got in front of the TV because they were hoping
wanted
to
to see their
get
kid.
a glimpse of their child.
Yes.
And that's what it was. I mean, that's what people did at 6 o'clock everywhere in the country here. Parents got around that black and white
Hoping
TV or
not to
whatever.
see their kid.
Hoping not, but hoping to see them.
Yeah,
that
at least they were
they're
alive.
And that's
Because-
why in World War II they did it in the movie theaters. They showed the film shorts of what's going on in the war because we didn't have TV yet.
And they were
the
about a
same
month
thing.
late.
People go, yeah, right. But people go to the movies. Well, maybe we'll see Andrew.
Yeah.
It's
And
terrifying.
for many of them, it was weeks, sometimes 6-7 weeks before you got mail. I mean, I was 3 months before you weren't getting a letter. So it wasn't like today. You pick up your phone, you get back from a mission, and you Facebook your family and say, "Hey, I'm okay," or whatever they do today. It's instant, and the media is instant. Back then, you had to wait for that Huntley Brinkley at 6 o'clock to see what was going on in the world. So it's a whole different world. And with that, though,
was amazing.
some of the same problems exist. Though veterans are still coming home with the same problems, but it's dealt differently today. Hopefully we talk mental health.
It's taught
Jenny also.
much
we talk
more.
about it.
Social media, I think, has had a big deal. That Jenny, you can speak to. The sharing now of information and who did what to who and when.
Right.
It's out there.
It's all the social
for
media.
viewing.
It's all of it though. Like Justin said, it's instant. And even I delivered a class yesterday for Hanover Public Schools admins, and that was the topic, was social media and how fast is it? And I can't imagine back then. I wasn't born.
We know.
I'm just saying.
We know.
Oh.
There we go. Here comes the youth.
Oh.
Well, you gotta love her though, because it's for you.
She's consistent.
She is.
She doesn't
She's either,
stop.
well, she's in Cleveland. Or
Oh God. Oh,
but
no.
on a,
Gotta have humor
right,
sometimes.
you do, and that's,
all the
and
time.
We know that. But I just want to. I know we always throw numbers out sometimes,
Yeah.
but we got this. I got this last week after the show. Someone sent this to me, and we talked in 2022. The suicide rate on 100,000 service members was 28.9 in the Army, 20.6 in the Navy, and 19.7 in the Air Force. There were no Space Force suicides that were talked about, and there were a total of 61 duty Marines and 6 Marine reservists, so they were 18 who died from the Marines in 2022. And that was the latest statistics we had on the suicide rate for our servicemen in 2022. I don't know if we'll get the next ones at the end of the year, but we talk about 22 per day.
Yeah.
You can look at the Army at 20,
how is that?
29.
And Chuck, God bless him, always questioned that 22 a day.
Right.
How is it calculated?
Right.
What is it? There's a lot of single car crashes.
Right.
But that's active service members. So now you look
now,
at
how about the afterwards?
Now you're talking about those who have served.
How many veterans have
Right.
we had here that have served in the Gulf War that have said they lost far more members to suicide
When they came
after the deployment than they did in
when
the
they got out.
warfare?
When they got
When
out.
they got
Yep.
Yeah, not even on active duty. When
When they
they've
got
been
out.
And for a lot of veterans, it's 10, 15, 20 years later. It's a combination of sometimes drugs and alcohol, and then all of a sudden, or retirement for my age generation. Veterans retiring, they have a lot of downtime. Their wife maybe passed away, and now all of a sudden, all that stuff they pushed down for 40 years.
The depression
is
starts.
starting to get depression, and then with that, unfortunately.
We had a kid here, Adam DeChico. And when I found out that he had passed, I couldn't imagine because he was so full of life.
Yeah.
And he spoke of all of his comrades that he lost to suicide, and sure enough, Adam took his life.
Right.
And I haven't taken his name out of my phone numbers yet. I can't erase it. You know.
I've lost a few along the way, and I keep them in my phone. It's strange when I'm going to call someone and I scroll past them.
Yeah.
And they're, he's still in my phone, and I leave him there. It's to remind me.
I think it's
To
a good
remember
thing.
it. Remember
it's to
'em. But those numbers that you read, Justin, those are the recorded ones. Those are the suicides that we know of.
Oh, yeah.
That are definite. That's what you were talking about, Greg.
Car
How
accidents.
many of these car accidents, going over a cliff,
single
or
car, yep.
single car accident, going into a tree, going into a bridge embankment, if they're not
Overdoses.
recorded,
Overdoses. Well, I was gonna say that's the same
some
thing.
of the DAs are, or I should say the medical examiner, they are separating that now, because when I get my stats from the two, I get Norfolk County and Plymouth
Because
County.
we used to talk about that I wouldn't classify all overdoses as suicides.
No, not all of
no.
them are. No,
And we had
absolutely.
and we had discussions here that, well, oh no, they all, no.
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 And that was the feeling. So now it's kind of leaning that way?
Not that it's leaning that way. They look at the multiple factors because usually there's co-occurring situations that they might have said something that they didn't want to be around anymore, that you're not going to have to worry about me anymore. Then maybe they did overdose, and they'll go back and look at other factors that were going on in that person's life. At that point is when the medical examiner can deem it as a suicide. And when I get my report,
Okay.
it will say overdose by medication or
Oh, boy.
whatever.
It's just, yeah, Larry's on the phone out there.
Placing his
Why
bet
don't
on
we-
tonight's game,
Why
I
don't we,
think.
was that, Larry, did I guess call in yet? No?
Oh, guest is on the board. We're gonna-
Ashley, oh,
Gonna commercial first?
Look at this board. Look at this.
I was going to say,
Look,
does
look,
it say?
look at that.
Wow, is that fancy?
Yeah, fancy.
And-
is a-
Yikes.
and it's a
Sponsors first and-
Yikes.
smiley face.
Yikes. Well, we better get to it then.
Fancy studio.
Fancy studios. Take it away here, Larry, and we'll be back after these messages to begin our discussion with Ashley Jutras from the Gulf War Illness group. So take it away, Larry. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, everybody. Greg Brasso, your host of Veterans Voice Radio, here, and we're ready to have our guest for the evening join us. Someone that withstood the rain a couple of weeks ago at our Veterans Festival. Ashley, are you out there?
Yes, I am. Greg, can you hear me?
Well, loud and clear, dear. Thanks a lot for calling in tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to chat.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself first, Ashley, before we ask you about your program.
Yeah, so I am the research manager of this program, so I coordinate a bunch of different studies focused on Gulf War illness here at BU. But I also am getting my master's in public health right now. I also am a social worker, so I wear a lot of hats. But I'm really kind of personally passionate about how our mental and physical health are so well connected. So hearing you all talk about veteran suicide earlier was really interesting. My ears kind of perked up on that. But I have been with this team for about a year and a half now, doing a lot of research on some of the kind of medical problems related to different exposures during the Gulf War and how folks are coming back after deployment. And happy to talk about those studies a little bit as well as we go on.
Sure thing, Ashley. Well, I think one of the things that we've been talking about for quite a while now is the PACT Act, and we've been talking about the effects of the burn pits and all of that. How would you describe the burn pit scenario, Ashley?
Yeah, I know that burn pits and oil well fires and really a bucket full of different types of exposures are really kind of coming together. I've heard a lot of folks talk about exposures to burn pits and some of the kind of negative health effects that happened immediately, as well as kind of prolonged, over the 30 years or so since they've gotten back. But that's, I would say, one of the many different types of kind of chemical exposures that are causing some harm.
For those of you that don't know, the every night about 5 o'clock, the soldiers in the foreign lands would dig a giant hole in the middle of their camp and pile all the rubbish and trash that was going to be eliminated from that day. A 55-gallon oil drum, a match, and all those toxics are all flying in the air all around those poor soldiers, Ashley, that weren't aware of the invisible dangers that were there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the perfect description. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, and it's really really unfortunate that all of those exposures have happened, and our hope is we can kind of, as a research team, gather more information on kind of what exactly it's been causing physically, in the hope that we can then kind of influence, future treatment for Gulf War illness down the line. And like I said, those burn pits are one of many of the different types of different exposures during Desert Shield Desert Storm.
So Ashley, Justin here, are you you actually doing the research, or are you doing outreach work with veterans?
So my role is a little bit of everything. So I do kind of talk with veterans, partially for like recruitment with research, but also I end up connecting a lot of folks to different kind of veterans related resources. But I am one of the people who administers a lot of the studies as well. So I am kind of doing the hands-on day-to-day research piece.
So are we including blood work and other types of research with it?
Yeah, so there's a few different types of studies. Some of them do involve blood work. Our big study is called the B-Brain study, and that study involves a half-day visit to our site in Boston, and there is a fasting blood draw. We feed the veterans immediately after they give the blood, but there's also some cognitive testing, a quick physical exam, and some surveys about their health and deployment history, and things like that. There's also some saliva collections that happen where folks spit into tubes to kind of collect saliva samples to look at a handful of different things like cortisol levels, which kind of indicate stress, and it's also used for some genetic analyses as well.
Are you familiar with the bill that's pending right now? It's called the Molly R. Loomis Research for Descendants of Toxic Exposure.
I'm not, but I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, you probably want to just
yeah.
If you just Google the Molly R. Loomis, Loomis research, it's a bill S3958. This is for the children and grandchildren of those who have been exposed to toxic, and this bill right now is moving through Congress. But it's something that I'm sure your research may want to take a look at, because it's a diagnosing and treating the health conditions passed down through generations. And that's what my generation of veterans have been so concerned, and we've been trying to work on this for over 20 years, is what were our children and our grandchildren exposed, for those who were exposed to Agent Orange, and what effects it has. And so this bill is going to try to address at least the research end of it.
Yeah, that's really exciting to hear things like that coming up and getting pushed through legislatively, because it is something I've heard from a lot of Desert Storm, Desert Shield vets that I've interacted with for sure. Is they're talking about different types of medical problems that are passed down intergenerationally, and our team actually is working on, hasn't started quite yet, but they are working on a survey that's going to go out nationally to involve both Gulf War veterans as well as their kids, and potentially grandkids as well, to really kind of talk about this issue, and gather some preliminary information on some of the common health problems, and see if they can make some connections. And that's just a simple survey, so it's not like you have to come into a medical center or anything to participate in that. It just hasn't quite been released yet.
Well, once you get that ready to go, Ashley, would you please reach out to me so we can spread the word, and if we can help you out somehow in the distribution of the survey forms, or somehow whatever it would take to gather the information. I think that that the data that you need to carry to gather is going to be so important. Justin and I talk about the passed down effects of Agent Orange and the problems, and it'll be devastating if some of the toxins from the Gulf War ended up being passed on as well. Can I ask you, Ashley, have you looked at that yet? Have you seen any indication that veterans are actually passing on some of the toxins into the next generation of life?
So I don't have any hard data type of knowledge. I haven't done any studies specifically focused on that, but I will say there's a lot of veterans that have come in and mentioned that their child was born with certain medical conditions or birth defects that I think there's some of our female veterans too have talked about challenges with pregnancy and things along those lines. Yeah, so I'm not sure about specific toxins like the chemicals being passed down, but I think there are a lot of stories, alarmingly high kind of frequency of stories, and that's really what drove this project.
You may want to look for a documentary. It's a 1984 documentary, and it's called Vietnam, the Secret Agent. Just an interesting 50-minute documentary, and you'll get a sense of what my generation of veterans after Vietnam was over. It's 9 years later after the war was over, and probably 10 years, 11 years after most of the troops left. But interesting documentary, and you'll get a sense of what we as veterans came home to and the attitude of the industry had. So it's called Vietnam, the Secret Agent. Like I said, it's about a 50-minute documentary. I think it'd be worth you just to take a quick peek at it. Would help you, I think, in further research.
Well, and at this point, Ashley, I think we could take a halftime break. And Ashley, if you don't mind holding on, we'll get back to you right after these messages.
Okay.
Thanks, Ashley. That's great. Take it away, La. We'll be back after these messages. Wow. Wow.
See how old you got real quick?
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Real quick.
Yeah, as we're talking here.
Who's Huntley?
Yeah. Who was he or she?
Yeah.
No, it was two people. For those youngsters, and our dearest Miss Jenny is reminding us that she wasn't born before Huntley Brinkley, whoever he was, whoever they were, came on the news, and they were two people, Chet Huntley
it was one
and David Brinkley, and they were with Walter Cronkite, the first news people.
We forget sometimes.
Sorry, Ashley, we had to just throw that in because we're not all that good sometimes, you know?
That's okay.
She's probably been Googling who are these guys she's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was a generation ago. Lester Holt tonight.
Yeah.
Lester Holt.
Yeah, you know, Ashley, because one of the things that I want to introduce you to are some of the other research programs that we have going on. We have the TRACS program going on at the Jamaica Plain VA. I don't know. Do you work with the TRACS people at all? With Wally Musto, who just retired?
So we don't work with them directly in collaborating with our current studies, but I have heard a lot of other veterans kind of talk about those programs. I know there's lots of other great things going on in the community.
Yep, and at any time, I mean, even just being at the festival as you were, most of them would have been there had the weather been a little bit nicer. We're moving the date next year to July 19th, so we have a little bit of extra time to plan, but
thank God it's not this weekend.
Yeah, no question. No question.
Absolutely. We all stuck it through with the rain. It was still a really fun event. You guys did an excellent job, and we were happy to have a tent to huddle under, and we still got to meet lots of great people and have those connections.
Well, it's certainly the vets that we talked to, and they all said, hell, we've been through a lot worse than a little bit of rain, a little bit of humidity, so... we thank you, Ashley, and we got you at the head of the line for another table next year. So maybe we'll at that point maybe you'll have some
maybe some
forms to fill out,
or maybe that's that research will be available to us. So.
Yes, either way, Ashley. Let's make sure you keep in touch with us so we pass along all of your information and help you do your research because it's critical, I think, that we find out what's going on to pass it on, as we did with with Justin's Vietnamese group,
Vietnam Veterans of America
group, but to look at the data,
right,
and to find out what's going on, and try not to let it happen again.
Well, and Ashley, that was our founding motto for Vietnam Veterans of America was never again one generation to bend in another. And you know, we've lived that legacy. We've lived up to it. I think we've welcomed home all those who have served, men and women, since our war was over. But it's still not done yet. I mean, this research now on generational exposure to toxin is something that's forefront in our minds. And you know, Parkinson's and all these other diseases that are affecting more veterans than should be, as I say.
It's amazing. It is amazing, and we pay attention. As Justin just mentioned, the Parkinson's situation is a something that we pay a lot of attention to, because 11% of all Parkinson's sufferers are veterans, and we're looking for the coalition. I don't think so. We're looking for the. What are we looking for? Not coalition.
I'm not sure where you're going, but
no, I'm just the fact that so many of the veterans are what's the
The correlation?
correlation? Oh, Ashley, thank you. Pardon my brain freeze. Jeepers.
Okay.
Creepers. Well, and you thought of it, Ashley, so
we thank you.
we thank you very much. And there's 1,000 million people listening out there tonight on the edge of their seats.
Screaming at the
Oh,
screaming at
screaming.
us.
It's correlation, Greg, you idiot. Correlation. Oh, so Ashley, good thing you got us keeping on the straight and narrow here. But so Ashley, as you're progressing, are you looking to have people getting in touch with you yet? Are you searching out for to start your research?
Fabric. So how do we get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for anyone that's served in the 1990 to 91 Gulf War, so Desert Shield, Desert Storm, whether you have, no health symptoms and you're, doing really well with your health, or you have a lot of medical concerns, we're really kind of open to working with folks, no matter where you kind of fall in on that spectrum. And so you're more than welcome to give me a call on my office phone. I'm happy to give that out over the radio, Greg.
Yep, please do. Great. Yep,
Yeah.
we're waiting, dear.
Okay, so it's 617
Yep,
358
yep.
2168.
And that's during regular office hours during the week, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you call outside of office hours, I'll
Yeah.
listen to the voicemail and call you back the next morning.
No,
happy to do that.
No, and who should call, Ashley?
Yeah, so anyone who's interested in participating in research that's served in the Gulf War is more than welcome to call. I'm happy to kind of have some one-on-one conversations with you about the research process and the different studies we have going on, and we can kind of go from there.
So
But I'm
family
happy-
and caregivers can refer someone to you if.
Yeah, so family and caregivers have definitely called me in the past, and I'm happy to talk with family and caregivers as well. Eventually, the veteran themselves do kind of get looped into the conversation, but I'm happy to talk with family members and caregivers too.
Great. And now, is this related to the burn pit registry? I know that it's not your group directly, but how have you? How have you looked at the burn pit registry? Do you work with it at all? Do you encourage your veterans taking your survey to enroll in the burn pit registry?
So we don't work with the burn pit registry directly. I will say that there are some questionnaires in our studies that ask people. It's a pretty lengthy list of different exposures, including things like oil well fires and burn pits and some of those similar types of exposures. But I would definitely, if people do have questions about that registry, I can get them kind of connected to those folks as well. I try and kind of steer people in the right direction for those resources. But we do not use that registry for any of our kind of data analysis.
Okay, but great. So, Ashley, once again, I'm going to give out your phone number, 617-358-2168. And, we encourage the Gulf War folks, because not a lot has been made of this yet, Ashley. It's kind of, kind of like a quiet little assassin. The problems that you see, and if I could ask Ashley, what are some of the common problems that you're encountering?
Mm-hmm. So I'd say that some of the really common issues with Gulf War illness are pain-related problems, also fatigue, different types of skin-related issues such as rashes, respiratory problems, so problems with breathing, any kind of cognitive issues, so problems maybe you can't remember things as well as you used to, or you have a hard time finding words, as well as gastrointestinal issues as well, so kind of upset stomach, diarrhea, that type of stuff. Those are the kind of main symptoms of Gulf War illness, and we're finding that about a third of folks that solved in the Gulf War are experiencing Gulf War illness.
Wow, a third have experienced some sort of illness. That's a rather large number, isn't it, Ashley?
It is a pretty alarmingly large number, and I think that really drives home the importance of collecting, some data so that we can kind of figure out, what to do and how to best help and what those treatments might look like too.
Well, Ashley, I want to thank you for sharing all the information with us tonight, and I hope that we've encouraged some Gulf War veterans to give you a call, and maybe over the next few months or so we could touch base and see how your survey is coming, and to see if there's something we shouldn't put online or make available through Veterans Voice. Ashley, we'd love to help you out to help you collect some life-saving data.
Absolutely, yes. We really appreciate the collaboration and all of the community-based events. We love kind of going out and connecting with veterans and other types of, BSOs and organizations too. But definitely once that survey goes live, I'll let you know, and we'll definitely keep in touch to tell you about new studies, because there's always new stuff going on in this Gulf War-related research as well.
Now, Ashley, if I could ask you, are you aware of the big festival that's being held at the Brockton VA hospital in September? Are you aware of that event?
Yes, actually, at your event last month is when we got the invite to go to that event.
Ah.
So it's great in the way that those networks are forming, and it does sound like a really great event that's going on in September.
Yep, September 21st at the Brockton VA Hospital. I think it's runs from 10 to 2 or something like that. But this is the 4th or 5th year that Dave Hank has been running the event, and we're happy to join up with him. And I'm glad to see you there, Ashley. We'll share a hot dog and a bag of potato chips at the event.
That's perfect. Okay.
All right, dear. Well, Ashley, keep in touch, and we'll look forward to seeing you in Brockton, if not before. And thanks a lot for coming on tonight and sharing all your great information with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, and feel free to call for anyone listening that has any questions or interest in research.
Okay, and once again, Ashley's number, 617-358-2168. Ashley, thanks again, dear. It was great talking to you, and we look forward to having you back on.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Okay, bye. Good night, dear. That was Ashley Jutras from the Gulf War Illness Foundation that's doing some research on the problems that the Gulf War vets are having.
And maybe that's something in the future that veteransvoicenetwork.org, if people go to that website, we might be able to start getting that posted on our website, so that people can start getting those direct connections, and maybe even before. It might be something we want to talk to Ashley off air and talk about getting that connection, so that people visiting the website, again, veteransvoicenetwork.org, they should come out and reach out, or listen to. If you missed the show, you can always check our past shows on our website. So.
I received an email, a text just a minute ago, that Channel 7 News said that Governor Maura Healey signed the form to reduce property taxes for veterans. I wonder if that was that part of
That's
the
part of the
Hero Act?
Yeah, I believe it is, and it's not mandatory. I believe it's
Towns,
it's up to the town to decide on what the percentage will be. We had that discussion the other day.
Boy, that's
It's
gonna,
part of the Heroes Act, and I think that's something that hopefully, I know it was signed today, but there's still some questions on what was in the bill, what got left out. So hopefully next week we can I can score a copy of that bill and we can talk in depth about what this Heroes Act covers and doesn't cover. So.
and maybe we could have someone call in
Yeah, it
that
would be
was
nice,
a
yeah.
member of, who knows, who we might be able to talk to about that. But we need to get to the bottom because there's some
Yeah.
things that were there and they're not
They
there,
disappeared,
and,
yeah,
and they fall out.
and we got some questions as veterans. I think a lot of veterans have some questions about why things weren't in the bill. So
Yeah.
you know, and the old saying is shame on the veteran if you don't voice your opinion up at the state house. If you don't get a hold of your state reps and your state senators, you've got to keep in their ear because sometimes they listen to a small fraction of folks. And you know, I know working up on that hill, if you're pounding on the door, they're going to listen to you. If you just sit at home and complain, they're not hearing you. So
Not at all.
I encourage all veterans to make sure you get a copy of this bill and go through it and see what is in it and what needs to be added maybe in the future. So
Well,
talk about the future, though. We should talk about what's happening on
the future.
Saturday.
The future is
tomorrow.
Friday. Tomorrow, is the future that we have to mention.
Bring your raincoat.
Bring your raincoat, everybody, at 10 a.m. I'm sorry, at Quincy, at Squantum. We are going to. We're
Most in your
we're
pocket.
doing it. Yeah. But the folks from Quincy again are saluting their unbelievable veterans contributions. They have like 30 generals and
I guess a couple will be there tomorrow.
a couple of them will. And but it's an Admiral's Day.
That's right. It should be an admiral.
It will be an Admiral's
Let's hope.
Day as they salute the lone sailor statue unveiling
And that's out at Squantum.
out at
is it?
Squantum at the old Squantum Naval Shipyard, which has been it's been there forever, and it's going to be quite an event tomorrow. So they're going to have a lot of fanfare and a lot of once again the city of Quincy comes through
Stepping up.
honoring the veterans
Yep.
that have served both years ago and currently as well, with the current population of generals and admirals that they're still turning out somehow.
And I've got to plug this, but this week is also Agent Orange, and on Saturday the 10th, I'll be in Foxborough. I believe it's 7 p.m. They're having a vigil down there, but I know we're laying a wreath at the Vietnam Wall in Fall River at 9 a.m. for Agent Orange, and this is a day to recognize all those who have been affected by Agent Orange. So,
And that still goes on.
and it still goes on, and we'll have, probably next week's show I'll be able to share maybe some more information. But
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. And at this point, Larry, why don't we take our final break, and we'll be back after these messages. Take it away. Welcome back, everybody. Greg Brasso, your host of Veterans Voice Radio, here as we enter the final
tickets.
the final quarter of tonight's show. That was Ashley Jutras from Gulf War Illness, and it's really sad, Justin, that the veterans that go out and fight the enemy, unknowing
well, it just
that
shows
the
you-
enemy was us.
Well, it just shows you here's another generation. We went through it with the Agent Orange, and now this poor generation is dealing with the toxics, the burn pits, etc. Which, if they had nipped this in the butt right after the war and said, okay, we understand the research, this won't happen again, then here we wouldn't be 30 years later treating another generation of veterans for something that really was preventable. I mean, at that point, it really was. The research was there. They just ignored it. And, let's hope that 30 years from now, they're not looking at another
Have they
generation.
stopped burn pits now?
I don't know. I mean,
And I'll send that question out there.
Let one of the kids who
I
just got
mean,
out. Let's
Can
find
you
out.
call out or somehow
They still-
we'll do some investigation.
Yeah.
There's another something to investigate over the next week or so.
Just have to get one or two veterans who returned from overseas and see what's going on. you
Yeah.
know, see
Yeah, ones who were there recently.
what's going on. But and that's been my mantras on that is maybe Vietnam, because the Dow Chemical and all the chemical companies, it was such corrupt back then, and they said they didn't have the research. But here we are 50 years later, and not even that. In 20 years after Vietnam, you had these young men going in 90, 91, and I'm sorry, the research was there. So,
They knew. But, even in the Agent Orange, it was a defoliant.
Well, right.
I
I mean,
mean,
come on.
it killed life.
Yeah.
It
Well,
sucked the life out
they
of
were
plants.
using on the farms, and they were saying, it's not toxic because the farmers would be complaining. That's why I said that 1984 documentary, Vietnam: The Secret Agent. That's a film that when you see it, you just you sit back in your chair and just can't believe. But that was the atmosphere.
just-
that was the attitude. Again, no one cared about the veterans who fought in Vietnam. It was one of those, we don't really care about
Frig them.
Yeah,
They got
weren't-
what they deserve.
Well, they weren't the greatest
Bunch
generation.
of baby killers.
Yeah, they weren't the greatest generation.
I mean, it was. The country was so torn back then.
But for those men and some of the nurses and women that were exposed to it, they were the pioneers, and that's how I look at them. They went to war, did what they were supposed to, came home, and then they had another a fight to fight again, and it just is so frustrating when you talk to some of the politicians and they look at you and go, yeah, we hear you, but it's like, do you really hear me? Do you really see? Like I said, one of my veterans put it, and it's his words. He said, when we went to war, we expected we could die in war. We didn't expect our government to poison us.
Yeah.
And here we are 30, 40, 50 years later, not only poisoned us, but now our children and
Still
grandchildren.
dealing.
So, this is not going to go away with a bill that gets signed tomorrow. And I could get on this tangent.
And
for
never
a while,
mind the
but-
horrors that we've inflicted on the people of Vietnam.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about that earlier. Yeah, I mean, we lost,
Whoa.
we may lose 2 million to Agent Orange, but, the people in Vietnam today are still affected with the stuff that's in their ground and the fields. They're losing 10 million.
it's never going to
easily.
leave their
No,
groundwater.
no,
I
you know,
can't
no.
imagine.
So, I mean, some people's attitude is, well, they were our enemy. Well, not the people who
Yeah.
who work in the fields.
And then we'll get into that whole.
Yeah, we don't want to get down that road, but
know,
we just didn't kill, the enemy. We killed innocent people. People want to talk about innocent people, and then the people who helped us over there, and then we killed those who went over. We poisoned them, and that's
Never mind the 58,000 that we
well,
lost.
those are our heroes.
Yeah,
Those are-
yeah.
And I tell people those are the real heroes who didn't come home, and it doesn't diminish anyone else's service. But yeah, we lost the 58,000, and today we're losing hundreds of thousands to this, this toxic.
And being a member of a Gold Star family, I realize the sacrifice
Absolutely.
that those 58,000 families
Yeah,
went through. I mean, there's the names, but just families.
families, generations.
And everywhere that are going to be affected
Yeah.
by, unfortunately, all the wonderful, beautiful names that are inscribed on the wall. And for those of you who haven't been there, folks, if you haven't got a wet eye as you're looking at the names and the vastness of the wall in Fall River, if you haven't taken the time to go down and see it,
Oh yeah, and it's permanent. Somebody asked me today if it was temporary. I said, no, this is permanent.
It's staying there.
It's staying there.
Staying.
It's in the ground there. It's been open for 2 years. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You need to come down, and there's a park bench for you to sit on, and just understand that. And then the Iwo Jima's right there, the State Gold Star, Korea.
what a field trip for any elementary kids,
Oh, yeah.
elementary school, middle school kids. That let us not forget
right
what horrors
of war, right,
and what the horrors of war are.
right.
Right.
We've had some great veterans come on here. Purple Heart.
Oh yeah, truly amazing men and women.
Yeah, that raised their hand.
Yep.
And as Jenny was saying, and Justin, you said you all raised your hand,
Right.
and you all didn't matter what you did.
Nope. Didn't matter who you were, what color you were, what race you were, what political
Right. Side
side
you
you were
choose,
on, it didn't
right?
matter. You
raised-
you raised your hand and you did what you were supposed to do. And that's how I measure a veteran, and I think everyone should understand that, and veterans should also understand that when they look at another veteran. They should understand that he could have been your replacement if called up. He was your replacement.
It was just all standing in line, waiting to serve.
That's it.
As Gina was saying earlier, that if the clerk in Kansas didn't order the potatoes
Or didn't
get them shipped
or didn't get
over-
your orders to come home, you'd still be
you'd
there.
still be there waiting, like the poor people up in the space station.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
boy.
I know.
talk about getting
Maybe
stuck.
next year.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
yikes.
Hey, hon, I'm only going for 10 days. 9 months later.
Now they say in February.
Yeah.
They say maybe
Yeah.
February.
February,
Next
March.
They
year.
send them up there. What the hell are they eating?
There's food up there.
Oh
They
yeah,
said that they have plenty of food.
Right.
and
Water,
SpaceX
everything.
just sent another missile up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
jeez.
were full of food. 8,000 pounds of food. They just went up.
They
there
should get Wolfie to do that.
Yeah, you
He,
think?
he delivers the food.
Yeah.
He'll bring it to. He'll bring him 10,000 pounds.
Hey, so we got a couple of things
Don't
going
give him
on.
any ideas.
A couple of things going on. I know we're going to be at the Marshfield Fair, the 16th through
Hallelujah! The
Hallelujah.
Veterans Voice,
Veterans Voice.
is coming to the
And we're
Marshfield
going to
Fair.
be right next door to.
Oh,
To me.
Miss Jenny,
Jenny.
and unfortunately, the suicide prevention.
So
folks, but
Jenny's fans show up.
yeah,
See Jenny, but just walk next door at the table and see Greg or I or whoever else is manning the booth that week. I know I'll be there Friday. Unfortunately, I'll be out of.
we're
the
gonna have
state
we're
after.
gonna
A
have
lot of
some
fun.
fun. Jen and I are gonna be there. We'll try to get Wolfie down there a little bit, and Gino, we hope you come down there. And
What's the date you're gonna
just
be?
from the 16th to the 25th is the dates of the Marshfield.
26th.
26th.
Oh, 25th.
25th.
Sorry.
Yep, Friday.
Sorry.
16 to 25.
They were
Anyone want to
very
be there?
happy to have you guys join me.
Yep.
I
So,
love that.
so we're gonna.
We
we're-
will be in the barn with the trains.
Oh, boy.
If anyone's
Nice.
looking for us, we're
good. In
in
the barn
where
with
the
the
model
trains.
trains
Eating fried
are.
dough.
Eating fried dough.
It was up to me.
Oh, we'll have double orders for sure there, Gino. Not a problem.
And hey, I know we had the food drive today. It was a great event. It was my first time being at the food drive.
I saw
because
the video.
I come up. If I come up early, I went, like I said, I met a couple of old high school friends today for a couple hours, and it was great. So, but it's just an amazing team. I know I heard about the Goon Squad.
Pretty
and I,
wild
And I
seeing
said,
it.
you know what? They're not the Goon Squad. They're the A team. I mean, these
Yeah,
people
it's
are
unbelievable.
I mean, they're just amazing machine.
Like a
These
well-oiled
people-
machine.
I mean, it's just. I just stepped back and I said, don't touch anything. Don't get in the way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they were just boom, 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 and. It was 40 minutes. That line was gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
Unbelievable.
it was crazy. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyways, we got lest we mention 988 folks. If you want to talk to somebody, if you're not feeling too good,
Yep.
feeling like you're a little bit down, something's bothering you.
or
there's-
if you got a veteran in crisis,
if you want to
You're-
find out that you want to talk to someone
Right.
or refer someone, 988. Boy, how simple is
at
that?
the Prompt Veterans Press 1.
And sure enough, we had a tremendous successful
Yep.
occurrence just last week where a young lady of 76 years old was in crisis.
Yep.
She called the number
It worked.
and it worked,
And it
and everybody got the help they
and the
needed.
veteran's safe.
And life goes on happily. But Larry, thanks a lot for keeping us on track tonight, and we'll see you next week, the night before the fair. Holy moly!
Holy moly.
Holy moly! Look out! Here we come, Marshfield.
Marshfield's not going to be the same.
Never be the
fair.
same.
They'll be like, what rolled in?
Thanks a lot, lad.
Who are
Gino,
these
thanks,
people?
brother.
My pleasure.